Hello, Night Nation. Proud to let you know that the Sons of UCF podcast is presented by the law firm of Gordon & Partners. Since 1993, Gordon & Partners have been dedicated to the pursuit of justice for those who have been wrongfully injured at no fault of their own. It's important that you get legal advice from somebody you trust. So contact UCF alum Michael Hoffman directly if you have any legal needs or questions. Visit their website at www.fortheinjured.com or text 407-913-5350 to speak directly to Michael. Don't trust just anybody. Trust the best. And trust a fellow knight. Gordon & Partners. For the injured.
This is the Sons of UCF, the number one place for UCF sports. With your distinguished host, Adam.
Let's all get together and see who can solve the Wordle the fastest.
And Mike.
You know, last year I think I said about 30 people in the UCF Sons of UCF group. Let's try to double that. Let's try to get 50.
Now, here are the guys.
All right, buckle up, my friends. Episode number 181 of the Sons of UCF is back at you. My name is Adam, and as always, my friend and yours, Mr. UCF Mike. Another week for you, Mike. Welcome back.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
You kicked me off the show. Yeah, even though I saw there was another show there last night. You guys did a whole show without me.
I don't know. You were invited. I heard you were a maybe, and then I was like, "Is Mike coming?" And he was like, "I don't know." And then we were like, "Maybe we'll just pop in," and you never actually showed up. So I don't know what happened there.
No. I got the rundown from Trace Sunday morning. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. By that time, 8 o'clock Sunday night, I'm in the bag. But, you know, I had a full day yesterday. I had a bunch of people over. We were watching the hockey game, a bunch of beers. I was done for. I tuned in for a few minutes and made a couple snide remarks on the comment section, but then there was no way I could have done the actual show.
Okay, well, maybe we could have used you for a while that we were drowning, but anyway, well, so you can catch that on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to all that stuff, by the way. Sons of UCF YouTube, twonightsmedia.com. You can catch up all of our content. Follow us on social media at Sons of UCF anywhere you do social media stuff. Mike is at UCF Mike1. Trace is at SignPez. You can find all of our stuff there, Mike, and that stuff this week included some good stuff with the softball program. Historic weekend out at the Plex. I know for a lot of people this is probably the first time they had a chance to really kind of dig in and watch the softball team come together, Mike. But I know you didn't get a chance to catch much of it live because you were bouncing around with some family stuff. But just overall, I mean, we were excited we were going to host a regional. Then we get there and you win the first one against Villanova or win the winner's bracket. You're feeling good. And then the game against Michigan on Saturday, Maddie Bejarano twice comes up, once to tie the game and then once to win the game in the 11th inning, which is extra innings, obviously, for softball. And then closing it out again against Michigan on Sunday, Mike. Just a really great weekend. I mean, again, not everyone is a softball fan. It's probably not the sport a lot of people are watching at all times, Mike, but high drama, and UCF comes out on top, Mike. First time ever we are advancing to the super regionals. What are your thoughts when you kind of saw the scores and realized UCF was moving on?
Yeah, you couldn't have drawn it up any better, right? I mean, a nice clean victory to start it off against a team that you should beat. And then we knew Michigan was going to be a tough opponent, and they were. That very first game, we were trailing, found a way to claw our way back, and an extra inning thriller. I mean, what's better than that? And then to close them out again on Sunday was fantastic, man. The girls played great. Just individual efforts all around were just key. I mean, how many pitches did Woodall throw? 180 pitches on her?
181 she threw on Saturday. And if that doesn't help, Mike, she came back and she closed it on Sunday. So she came back, and I don't know how many pitches she threw on Sunday. Probably at least 2 innings worth, so probably at least 50 pitches. So she threw 230-some pitches in 2 days. You could just take my arm off if that was me. I don't even know how I would raise my arm the next day.
Yeah, it's not just arm. My girls are just now learning how to pitch, and it's a very complicated, different motion that you're not used to. There's a lot of steps to it. It's not just swinging your arm around. You got your legs. Everything's involved in that motion. So to do that many times and that well is very impressive. So, but overall, man, the team looks fantastic. And now here we go. I said it just before this. We got here. We're hosting the regional. Now let's go win it. and they did that. They made history. On to the next step. Anything from here now is just gravy, right? If you find a way to beat Oklahoma, who is the number 1 ranked team in the country, then you're talking best sports team in UCF history of any sport, maybe.
Yeah, and while Saturday was a close game against Michigan, again, a late hit by Maddie, but Rhonda drives in a run, and then she drives in another one to win the game. Sunday was pretty much a no-doubter. I mean, we were up pretty big. Michigan put 2 across in the final inning just to make it a little bit closer, but I mean that was a pretty solid game on UCF's favor. And the thing is that Elo told us, going into this when we had him on the live show, Mike, he said this is going to be a region about pitching, and Michigan had some stud pitchers that were supposed to play really well, but it was really the reverse. I mean, Campbell Woodall shut him down on Saturday, and then Gianna Mancha kept him under control, and Woodall closed it out on Sunday. We were the better team from a pitching standpoint, and picture this, Mike, Jada Cody, who is obviously our world player. She didn't even really hit that well. I mean, she played okay, but the bat just wasn't there. But she made some fantastic defensive efforts. A great over-the-shoulder catch at third base. Caught one against the screen when she was catching for Mancha on Sunday, Mike. But what did you make of? I mean, the Plex was just packed over the weekend. People everywhere. They kept showing shots of the crowd. I mean, all in all, it's a good weekend just for UCF in general, right? Just to see how much people got behind the softball team, but for everyone watching on ESPN, just to see a packed house, and nothing cooler as an alum, as a fan, to see everyone coming together cheering on a team.
Definitely. And I mean, you even see that the first game, Malzahn's out there, Mohajer, the new basketball coach, Mester. Everybody's out there. It's a family atmosphere. Everybody on this campus loves each other. They all support each other. It's great to see. But, I think you shortchanged Jada Cody there. She dropped a couple bombs in the first game, right? 2 home runs, I think, in game 1.
Fair. That's
and
fair. Yeah.
The big difference, I mean, that first game against Michigan, you're talking the extra inning game. You win that, and you're in the driver's seat. You lose that, and you see what happens. Michigan has to play that extra game. They got to go, it's a big trickle-down effect. That's why that game was so huge. If you end up losing that game, who knows how this thing turns out. But, to see the atmosphere on campus, it just shows that the support is there, and maybe we can start doing some upgrades to this softball. Maybe a new scoreboard, maybe some shade. I know we've been talking about shade for years over at that place. It's hot, and I heard it was pretty humid out there, too. Everybody's talking about that.
ESPN brought it up like every 7 pitches that it was humid out.
If we get a little cover out there in some areas, maybe make it a little more enjoyable for the fans. Because, I mean, you got to give the fans a lot of credit sticking through that weather, too. It's not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they need to add the lazy river, could maybe go make a lap around the softball field, and all of a sudden you're watching softball floating on a float. That could add some excitement to the program, too.
Well, we dodged an interesting bullet here. I mean, it doesn't have to be talked about now because it didn't turn out that way, but there was also just a bunch of bad weather on Saturday night, which pumped back all of the other games. And initially, there was some confusion whether or not Michigan did not finish their game, so they essentially had to finish a game and then potentially play another one. And if they had beaten UCF, then we would have had to play them again. There was some conversation about, can you play 3 games in a day? You had some time. You didn't have some time. Initially, they said yes. If Michigan were to beat UCF in the first matchup, we would play them again the next later, like basically 30 minutes after that game ended. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they changed the ruling, and that game will be played Monday, which obviously would be, to Michigan's advantage to not have to keep playing and playing and playing. So a minor controversy brews there, but it's all for naught, Mike, as UCF sends Michigan home packing, and you said it's on the Super Regional. Here's the particulars for those who are interested. Friday, 4:30 ESPN2. And then Saturday, 2 p.m. on ESPN. It's obviously it's a best of 3 series in Norman, Oklahoma. Mike mentioned it. Oklahoma, the number 1 seed. They won their regional by beating Texas A&M. I think it was 20-0. They missed the extra point apparently, and so our work is cut out for us, Mike. But you said it earlier. Everything after this is just kind of gravy. So you never know what'll happen anytime you line up between the white lines. Any sort of fluky, random type stuff can happen, but we got to beat Oklahoma twice now. It's a different kind of format in order to advance. So definitely a tall task for the softball team.
Yeah, it's 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. You got to steal that. If you can steal that first one, fantastic. But Oklahoma is a different animal, man. 20-0 you mentioned in a regional final. That's pretty impressive. And they've got the pitching. I saw the stat earlier today. What was they have a very good record, and I believe
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
20 of their games are shutouts. I don't think they gave up runs in most of the games they played. So something stupid like that. So it's going to be very challenging. And if you could just make it a one game, make it come down to Sunday for one game, all the marbles, anything can happen, man. A bad bounce here, a bad call by the ump there, anything. And before you know it, we're in the College World Series. But you got to take it one game at a time, one pitch at a time, one inning at a time, one pitch, work the counts and see what you can do, man. This team, I wouldn't be surprised if we can pull it off. Bigger upsets have happened in sports history. So we're here now. We might as well go for it.
Well, I think this team has proven if we keep it close, right, that there's just a certain mojo about how they play and sort of that, when we had Jada Cody on the live show, I mean, she kind of said, hey, we just keep believing until, the last out is there. And we saw that twice on Saturday. So if you keep it close, right, it's a 1-run game, a 2-run game, you get down to that, 5th inning, 6th inning. I mean, I feel like that's where if UCF's in striking distance, I wouldn't count them out. I mean, I know Oklahoma's fantastic, but we've seen them, pull some stuff off before. So I think that's the name of the game is keep them close, play solid defense. I think that the pitching hopefully will be there with Mancha and Woodall, play solid defense behind them. Just keep it close, get some timely hits, and you never know, right? To your point, you steal one, and all of a sudden now it all comes down to one game. And at that point, who's the pressure on? Is it on UCF or is it on Oklahoma, right? I mean, if this is 1-1 going into Sunday, who's got the most pressure, UCF or Oklahoma? Probably Oklahoma, right? Because they're expected to win this thing. For UCF, to your point, it's house money at that time.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely on Oklahoma if it got down to that. And, this team, you mentioned, they got a flair for the dramatic. Yeah. And it's not just one girl every time. I mean, Doherty's done it a couple times, but now you got Maddie chipping in. And it could be anybody on this roster. Could be the hero that day. And, this is going to be huge. If they can pull this off, like I was saying before, I think Elo mentioned it. They're in the discussion now for best team in UCF history, regardless of sport. Yeah. And to get that far, baseball's never won a regional. Forget talking about the College World Series. I mean, football, we know we've never been invited to the playoff. Basketball has only gotten one win in the tournament. So this is it, man. These girls are primed and ready to go. I think they're excited. They got to be excited for this opportunity. And, it's softball, anything can happen, like I mentioned. So I'm not counting them out.
Well, again, tune in Friday. I'm sure we'll cover a little bit more of this, Mike, on our live show this week, and maybe an interview or two along the way. So tune in Friday, 4:30 ESPN2 for the first game, Saturday 2 p.m. for game 2, and let's just see if we can keep this roller coaster ride moving, Mike. Though, speaking of roller coasters, the baseball team will begin their AAC conference play on Tuesday night. We are going to be playing Memphis after 4 p.m., so no earlier than 4 p.m., but depending on when the first game ends, it could be a little bit later, Mike. UCF sneaks in with the 2 seed based on virtue of loss by Houston at ECU. ECU clearly the 1 seed, Memphis the 7 seed. We obviously played Memphis earlier, took 2 of 3 from them. But now in Clearwater, where they put on the AAC tournament. And the reality is this, Mike, we need to win this whole thing to get any postseason activity. So it's basically no holding back, no holds barred. Got to win them all at this point. It starts with Memphis on Tuesday. What do you expect, Mike? I mean, do you have any optimism we can make a run here? Do you think we can even beat Memphis? Where are you at in terms of your confidence level of the baseball team?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we were 2 in barbecue, and I wouldn't be surprised if we made a run all the way to the final game. And last year, East Carolina has been the team in this conference for a while. Last year, they were very good, and I think they lost their first 2 games, and they were out quickly. Mm-hmm. We don't have to deal with them until if we got to the championship game. So let somebody else maybe do the dirty work. And there's no other team in this conference that scares you, that says you say, wow, we have no chance of beating them.
Well, there's a team that scares me. There's actually a team that scares me.
Us?
Yes, UCF scares me because I don't know which team is going to show up.
Yeah, that is true. But it could also work in favor of us, too, because sometimes the team that shows up is the team that plays pretty good baseball and pitches well, and that team can show up for a few days, too. So we got lucky. We got a 2 seed, even though we had to back into it and losing a couple games this past week, and we're not playing great, but you know what? Sometimes when we have a bad weekend, we follow that up the next weekend with a good one, and that's exactly what needs to happen this week.
Well, we'll see. I mean, a couple of notes. Ben Vespi, who I expect will get the ball on Tuesday at Memphis, he was named first conference, or first team all conference, as was Connor Stain. Don't know his status, Mike. We obviously saw him play a little bit against the Cincinnati series. Stephen Bronca on our extra live show last night said he's not even really sure what to expect out of him. But Litchfield's been pitching a little bit better. Bronca was excited about what he saw out of him, Mike. But interesting to note, though, ECU is by most accounts already considered a tournament team. If they win one game in this tournament, in theory, that should solidify where they are. It was funny, Stephen Bronca brought up how motivated will ECU be? Will they want to throw their main pitchers? Will they want to get some guys some rest? How much do they care about winning the AAC tournament when they kind of know their fate? So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Again, double elimination. So, I mean, it depends on same concept. If we win Tuesday, which is it's a huge if, we would then play Thursday again, which is a good benefit, right? So you get an extra day of rest for your guys. But if we lose Tuesday, we turn back around and play Wednesday. So that first game against Memphis holds a lot of cards, not just because you need the win, but a win gets you an extra day's rest and maybe sets you up a little bit, Mike. But it's you never know what's going to happen, man. These tournaments are always kind of weird. You never know what can happen. UCF goes all the way to the finals last year against the Cows, loses to the Cows, who are now the 8th seed in this tournament. I mean, stranger things have happened, but the strangest thing that has to happen is we got to win this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, you got to stay out of the loser's bracket as long as possible. You lose that first day. I'd like to see the numbers and percentages of teams that lose game one and come back to win the whole thing. It can't be very high, because then you're just burning out your pitchers. You're pitching, you're throwing every day. There's no way that happens very often, especially for a team that's like us. That's not a great team. You could see like a powerhouse maybe pulling that off, but there's no way. I think if we lose the first game on Tuesday, I think it's done. Yeah, that's why I say maybe we'll be out on Wednesday. But if we win that game, then all of a sudden you don't play till Thursday, and then you get a favorable matchup that game, and then you play. And then after that, you're playing a team that's tired. If you win the first two games, you're in very good shape. And then once you get to that championship game, anything could happen. We made it there last year, and like I said, if somebody knocks off East Carolina on the other side of the bracket, I feel good about facing whoever it is coming out of that side. And we'd be the higher seed, which makes us the home team, I believe, right? So once East Carolina's out of the picture, it's anybody's bracket. So let's see what happens.
Again, Tuesday, all the festivities kick off, and so it's a big week for UCF sports, Mike. Obviously, softball is traveling on Friday to play. Baseball could be playing Tuesday or Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. Charge On tours are going on Tuesday on the Space Coast, Thursday in Oviedo. It's a pretty heavy UCF sports week. This is usually supposed to be the dead time, but there's a lot of stuff going on. Gus and Timo are gonna get some frequent flyer miles. Hopefully, you assume that they're all going to Oklahoma, right? Like I'd love to see Gus out and some of the other coaches out at the super regional cheering on the night. You got to hope maybe they can get a few people out there. No,
Timo would definitely be there. I wonder if Gus will be there. And we've got some old friends now that are over in Oklahoma. I wonder if we'll see some of those guys.
Josh Heupel
out in the stands. Huh?
Josh Heupel, maybe?
Well, no. He's in Tennessee now. But you think Gabriel's out there?
Oh, that guy.
Some socks?
That guy.
He's going to be out in left field hawking socks out there?
I don't think he'll hawk socks, but I think there's 1,000% chance if he shows up, he's head to toe in DG the brand gear. There's no chance he's rocking OU gear. He's head to toe in DG the brand gear. You cannot convince me otherwise.
I thought you were going to say he was going to come out with all Oklahoma stuff. But yeah, it makes more sense. DG the brand.
I mean that's exactly what. Was there ever a question on what he's going to come out wearing?
There's no question that he's not wearing UCF stuff.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean he can't, right? He can't, root for UCF. Nor do I care if he does, but he cannot care. Another thing that's happening, Mike, is and it's happening on Twitter now tonight as we're talking. So a fun, cool interest story over the weekend. Maddie Bejarano, her brother, is somebody who means the world to her, and there's an effort undergoing on social media now. Robert at 2 letters 2 words is trying to get some things worked out to get her brother flown out from Arizona to Oklahoma to watch her play. So if that's something you're into, check out Robert's Twitter feed at 2 letters 2 words, and stay tuned, Mike. You never know who will get involved in these kind of things. You never know what kind of stuff can happen when a good interest story comes about. Stranger things have happened. Just stay close to this one. But if you're interested, maybe check out Robert's Twitter account and see what's going on. And if it's something you're interested into, maybe drop a couple of dollars in the bucket there, and we'll see what'll happen.
Yeah, I'm hearing some good things about this situation. Maybe people we know getting involved, and I see a lot of positives coming out of this, and it's going to start with her brother getting to go see her play in the Super Regional.
That'll be a fun time, Mike. All right, let's transition here. Something that we did a lot over the summertime, and it's kind of a staple of the show, Mike. We did our top fives, a lot of top 5 lists. We always kind of talk about what we're working on and fun stuff and yada yada yada. So I figured let's just make this a segment. I mean, let's just do this thing formally now and just do a top 5 list, whatever you want to do a top 5 on. Maybe UCF related, maybe not UCF related. Each of us with a top 5 list for the show, Mike. So I've got a top 5 prepared. I know you were still looking through your pockets for one of your most recent top 5 lists. Not sure if you rummaged and found one in there or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got something here.
Okay. Do you want to go first? You want me to go? You don't seem as confident in your top 5. So do you want me to take mine first, and then you can figure out where you're feeling at that point?
Yeah, go first.
All right, Mike. Here's my top 5. This is the top 5 list of coaches currently coaching at UCF. Top 5 coaches. You ready for this?
All right. Yeah.
Okay. You understand the rules?
They have to be a coach.
Have to be a coach.
At UCF.
Current coach. Wow. Current coach at UCF, correct. Employed current coach at UCF. So Coach Abe, not eligible, although she would have been a really strong selection option for me at that point. But Coach Abe, not eligible at this point in time. So top 5 current coaches at UCF, Mike. Number 5, Scott Calabrese, head men's soccer coach. Mike, 45-16 in his time at UCF, 3 straight AAC Conference regular season champions, 3 straight NCAA appearances. That includes a Sweet 16, Mike. That includes an AAC Conference championship win as well. Scott Calabrese has the men's soccer program moving in the right direction. They're typically a team that plays well every season. Again, a Sweet 16 on his resume, Mike. Number 5, Scott Calabrese, soccer.
All right. Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. Won the conference a couple times. And this past year wasn't as good, but he's done a pretty solid job for his time here.
All right. So far we're agreement. Okay, number 4, Mike. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Todd Dagenet, volleyball coach, Mike. Todd Dagenet, 280 career wins. He has 4 straight AAC championships, 4 straight NCAA appearances for the team, 5 total AAC championships, 5 total appearances. They've lost 3 conference games in the last 4 years. Really, the only knock on Dagenet is do it in the playoffs, right? He hasn't had a chance to really break through and get the team to some of the later rounds in the tournament, Mike. But they are perennially a team that is battling for a conference tournament and battling for an NCAA berth. And this kind of feels like one of those deals with like the football program. We talked to our guest this evening. You hear a lot about kind of getting over the hump. Feels like volleyball just hasn't quite gotten there, which is why Dagenet is not any higher on this list, Mike. But Todd Dagenet, coach number 4 on the top 5.
Yeah, another guy that's putting together a very nice resume. Now all that's missing is do it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We were favored, I believe, this year, right, in the first round, and could not pull it off. So that's what's missing. But they still got time here. He's got a couple more seasons before we light up the hot seat, I think.
Okay.
He's got to start doing it when it counts.
Well, that's a tough job for number 4 on the list of the hot seats. So let's hope he pulls it together, Mike. The number 3 head coach currently at UCF is Gustavo Malzahn. Gus Malzahn checks in at number 3. Obviously, only one season at UCF, so the on-the-field record 8-4. But that includes a nice win against Florida in the Gasparilla Bowl, Mike. But for Gus, obviously, his position is different than any other coach on campus, and that's just kind of facts. That just is what it is. He's in a much higher profile position, and I would say what he's done to elevate the football team's brand, what he's done to add to the legacy that was built before him. I think he's coined that future of college football phrase, and he's kind of living it right now. The recruits we're getting in, and sort of the plans to get to the Big 12, what that's going to look like, the transfer portal stuff. I mean, even though only one season on field, I think the things that Gus has done off field, which frankly, impact all the other sports programs to an extent as well. So this is a 3 seed for Gus Malzahn. If he had more time to actually coach on the field, it may be higher. But I got Gus at the 3 spot, Mike.
All right. He's done a very good job. We lost a couple games last year that, in my eyes, were not acceptable. The Navy game especially. Mm-hmm. Still not happy with that one. How we blew a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter against those guys, I still don't get it. But, overall, he redeemed himself there at the end of the year, beating Florida. He's got this recruiting thing going now. So this is a huge year for him. Year number 2. We saw what Frost did in 2 years. That's going to be like what we're going to judge him against. How much improvement is he going to show in year 2 here? He's got a lot of potential and a long way to go still. But I like the way the program is headed in football. I think pretty much everybody is excited about this upcoming season.
All right, my number 2 current coach on UCF campus on staff at UCF is, I'm going to build some suspense, Mike. Ready? Cindy Ball Malone, head softball coach, Mike. She's been there for 4 full seasons now. This is the 2nd straight year she's taken the Knights to the tournament. This is obviously the furthest that they've gone, winning their regional. The 2020 season gets canceled. They were 21-5 at the time that season got canceled, Mike. So you got to wonder what that year would have been. Last 2 years, 41 wins in 2021, 49 wins in 2022. She's taken the program and moved it a lot forward. And we talked about it earlier, where the softball program is at, where the team is at right now relative to their sport and where the other sports are. They've made it pretty far from a success perspective. And if for some reason we pull this off this weekend, that'll be, to your point or Elo's point earlier, one of the most exciting things ever in UCF sports history. So I've got Cindy Ball Malone, number 2. A little bit of that, recency bias, but a consistent program and look at the results. They speak for themselves.
When do we have to start getting nervous about somebody coming around and stealing her like they did with Coach Abe for women's basketball? That's going to be the one issue. When you have a little too much success now, it's hard to keep them around. I don't know what her contract looks like, but I'm sure she's going to be in line for a little bit of a raise here after this season. And let's see if she can keep this thing going. If she wins a couple games this weekend, oh boy, she may be in for a big-time payday.
Yeah, we may have to pay her on the plane home at that point, Mike. And the number 1 coach currently on UCF campus, the top spot belongs to
Greg Lovelady.
Linda Gooch, the head cheerleading coach, Mike. 3 national titles, 2003, 2007, and 2020. They have placed in the top 3 in the last 6 years. They've been in the top 10, 17 of the last 19 seasons. Obviously, cheerleading and the cheer competition world doesn't get a ton of publicity, isn't always on prime time ABC at night, Mike. But perhaps the only other program outside of football to have a national championship, and they have 3 of those bad boys. Again, let me tell you this again. They've been in the top 10, 17 of the last 19 years, and they've been in the top 3 for the last 6 seasons. Mike, Linda Gooch, the top coach on UCF campus right now.
Yeah, we're a powerhouse when it comes to cheerleading, and she's been there the entire time. UCF royalty, that the whole Gooch family.
Yeah,
and it's mostly because of her.
Mostly.
Alan Gooch was a nice football coach too, but Linda has really made the name for the Gooch family here at UCF. Fantastic job. 3 national championships and a couple of runner-ups. And like you said, we're always in it. Every time the cheerleading competition comes around, we're in the finals. We're in the top 5. We're competing to win the whole thing every single year. So fantastic job out of her.
OLI, Dana Boone, track and field coach. This year they won both the indoor and the outdoor AAC championship. So Dana Boone, OLI on this one, Mike. Not pictured Greg Lovelady, not pictured Johnny Dawkins.
Yeah, where do you rank those guys? Are they top 10? How many sports do we have on campus?
I mean, John Roddick is in there, tennis. We're talking club programs too. I don't know if we take those.
Track and field.
Rowing. The rowing program I think has been doing pretty good. Women's tennis. You got golf. I mean, golf went to the NCAAs this year, both men's and women. So Dawkins may not be top 10. Like I'm gonna have to go back to the lab and sketch this out.
Yeesh. That's a little bit of a problem when your basketball coach and your baseball coach are not considered top 5 on campus. But Lovelady's still got a shot with this team. The season's still going on. You never know.
Yep.
You could make a run.
That's my top 5 list, Mike. Do you feel good about your? I don't want to pressure you into a top 5 list if you're not ready.
No, I got one.
Okay. We're all waiting.
I got top 5 because what the softball team did this weekend, they made history.
Okay.
First time ever winning a regional, going on to the super regionals. It's a historic team, which made me think of what other history-making teams have we had? Top 5 history-making teams. I can't just say teams because there's also an individual in here. So top 5 history-making individual / teams.
Get your list, yeah.
And they're not. And maybe there's another thing here. Teams that you never heard of or you forgot about.
Okay.
They're not any of the football teams or basketball teams. Let's put it that way.
We got to shorten this title.
Right, number 5.
We got to shorten the title just a little bit.
It's a weird title.
Okay.
Top 5 history-making teams that you didn't know about.
But it could also be a person.
Yes, it could be a person.
Okay.
There's one person.
There's one person. Okay. All right. Rolls
Number
off the
5.
top. Here we go.
He's a golfer. His name's Greg Easton. In 2013, he was the first Knight to ever win an individual NCAA regional title.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
He shot a 63 in round 2 to take the lead and never looked back. First guy ever to win a regional individually. Greg Easton, he's number 5 on history-making. Well, he's the guy. But history-making teams that you never heard of or you forgot about.
Where's he at now? Do you know?
No idea.
Okay. Number 4.
Maybe he's listening to the show.
Maybe.
Number 4. 2019 men's soccer. First team ever to advance to the Sweet 16. Made history that year. 6-0-1 in conference. 15-3-2 overall. They had a streak there where they went 16 games in a row without a loss.
Mm-hmm.
A pretty impressive season they put together there in 2019. It made history by making that Sweet 16 first time.
Led by the number 5 coach on my list. I agree with you.
There you go. Number 3, the 2001 baseball team. Atlantic Sun champions. I don't know if you remember this. They got ranked as high as number 7 that year.
Yeesh.
That is history right there in UCF sports. Number 7 in the country. We know Pope and Arnold, the guys that we had out there. We went to a few of these games in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the first year they opened up Jay Bergman Field right there. And we got screwed by getting sent to the South Carolina regional, where we lost to South Carolina in the last game. But made history by being the highest ranked team in UCF baseball history in 2001. Number 7.
Gotcha. Okay.
Number 2.
Okay.
You mentioned them already.
I did.
The 2003 cheerleading team.
Wow.
First ever national champs. You forget, or maybe you didn't know, we were in Division I in cheerleading just as long as we weren't in football. We moved up in 1996 in both sports, and it only took us 7 years to win a national championship. That's pretty impressive in itself. The 2003 cheerleading team is in the Hall of Fame, and led by Linda Gooch, if she's not in the Hall of Fame already, she's got to definitely be. I don't know if it's a wait until after she retires or what the deal is. She might already be it. But first ever national championship team, 2003. They went on to win a couple more, like you mentioned.
Did it?
And the number 1 of the top 5 history-making teams in UCF history that you didn't know about, and I didn't know about this one either. 1978
Jesus.
volleyball. The 1978 volleyball team. Let me go over some of these stats. First of all, we were Division II. We won the national championship. You know our record that year?
I don't.
55-0.
Is that good?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
39-0 in the regular season. They had 4 All-Americans on the team, and that season, and I believe going into the next season, 69 straight wins. That's pretty damn impressive. That's the number one team that you never heard of at UCF. That is.
I mean, I've heard of the volleyball team, but
well, you never heard of the 1978 national
no.
championship team. Did you know about that?
Are they in the Hall of Fame?
They are also in the UCF Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Them and the 2003 cheerleading teams, the only teams in the UCF Hall of Fame.
Fun fact. Did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we did this top 5.
Here.
Wow, yeah. Story time with Uncle Mike. I highly doubt anyone tuned in tonight to expecting this to be your home for cheerleading and 70s volleyball talk, but here we are.
If anybody knew this already, it's James Reed, right? Cossack? He already knew that.
Yeah.
He probably knew the records and everything.
Yeah, Cossack's probably the most likely to have known that. Kevin Reese, if he's listening.
Yeah.
Kevin Reese probably.
Reese was probably covering those volleyball games.
Reese was probably on the team back then. Yes, those are probably the most likely to have known any of those stats, Mike. Do you have any more top 5s? I don't want to cut you off.
That was my one top 5 list. So you doing a second one?
I don't have a second. If you have one though,
I was trying with Elton Patterson being the guest.
Top 5 Eltons?
Trying to come up with top 5 Eltons.
I was there too.
Hard that was?
I was there too.
Yeah,
Elton Brand, Elton John. I was really out after those two. Yeah. Yeah, I was searching for any other Eltons
I've never heard of.
There's an Elton Brown. I think he's an author or a cook or something, but I was out after that. Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
We should really, communicate before the show, or else we would have the exact same top 5 list, which would have been fantastic. All right, well, we'll get better at these top 5s, probably.
Do you want to do Elton John top 5 songs?
Do you have them already?
No, I don't have them already, but I can whip them up, I guess.
I mean,
give me a minute.
Do
you have a favorite? What's your favorite?
Ooh, man. So I've got favorite's a tough word. I mean, Rocket Man, obviously, it's a classic. Benny and the Jets, that gets me every time. I always liked Yellow Brick Road. It's a good one. Man, I know I'm forgetting one. It's probably he has a Princess Diana song, "Candle in the Wind," right?
Yeah. It's a good one. Bunch of good ones.
That's all I got.
Tiny Dancer.
Oh, Tiny Dancer. Don't Go Breaking My Heart.
But it's Cold Heart. The new
I guess that's why they call it. That's a good one too. Cold Heart. Yeah, do you count that though? Is that? I mean, it's on the radio every 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's not top 5. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. I mean, you got thousands of them. Crocodile Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that we just named like 10 of them? So to pick your top 5 out of that, people. That's what we got there. Yeah.
The Bitch is Back.
So what's your fair point? What's your number 1 then? What's your go-to?
Ooh, I don't know, man. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Because you got a lot of like ballads. Saturday Night's all right for fighting. That's a classic. It depends on I don't know if I have a favorite, but I like a lot of them.
Okay.
I mean, Rocket Man was up there for a while when Roger Clemens was pitching for the Yankees. They used to play it all the time.
That's fair.
But no, I don't know. I gotta say, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
All right. Well, the rare top 5 list where we named more than 5 and didn't put them in any order, and we have no idea what number 1 is. So this is mark this date down in history as the date that the Sons of UCF top 5 list took a complete left turn that no one was expecting. Mike, let's take a break. Hopefully, people are expecting that, and we'll come back. We'll play a quick game, and then we'll get on with our guest this week. Don't move, Sons of UCF. Back after this.
This is UCF head football coach Gus Malzahn, and you should listen to the Sons of UCF like your hair is on fire. Go Knights and charge on.
All right, my game time. Again, this game is sponsored by our good friends at Gordon & Partners. They are a proud supporter of the Sons of UCF. We are proud to have them on board. Legal advice is important, Mike. You want to call somebody that knows what they're doing and that you can trust. That somebody is UCF alum Michael Hoffman, 407-913-5350. That's how you get to Michael. If he can't help you out, he will find a way to get you your answer. Trust a knight with all your legal needs. Trust Michael Hoffman. Trust Gordon and Partners, Mike. And I trust you tonight. I'm going to go through some of these hot takes. These are hot takes, and you're going to tell me whether or not you object to any of these takes, okay? So I'm going to give you the take, and you tell me whether or not you agree or you object. Are we ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, here's the first one for you, right? We already talked about this off the top of the show. Matty Bejarano's performance this weekend is the best performance by any UCF athlete this year. Do you agree or do you object?
Wow. Any all year. That is such a broad picture. I mean, I gotta think of every game we've played in every sport.
Yes, you
individual performance.
Yes, you do.
I mean, you got Woodall on the same. Was it the same day throwing 181 pitches?
It sure was.
But you talk about being clutch and saving the team not once but twice and walking it off. I'm having a hard time thinking of another person to do something like that. And then their sport. I'm trying to think of something football-wise, but this season, no, I think we got to give it to Matty. I will not object to that.
Your contenders would have been in that same game, Kama Woodall with the complete game 180 pitch sequence. Isaiah Bowser had a pretty nice game against Boise State in the football opener. Mm-hmm. The Michigan basketball win for UCF, I mean, it wasn't really any one player that played, kind of out of their mind on that one. I mean, McKenna Melville in volleyball had a bunch of consistent games, but, I don't remember there being a game where you were like, oh, my goodness, that was dominant or we needed that one down the stretch. Baseball, I mean, we haven't had a no-hitter or anything this year. So, I mean, to me, those are your options. I'm sure I'm forgetting one easy one that people are going to kill us over. And perhaps it is recency bias, but I think Maddie may have the top spot here. Again, the only option would be if you're going to give it to her teammate, Kama Woodall.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with this one. And, it's definitely recency bias because it just happened. It's fresh in our heads. And I can't remember all the other games that went on already this year.
All right, that's how you get Mike. Get him when he can't remember something. All right, here's your next one, Mike. I don't know if you saw this. Have you seen Colton Boomer's yearbook photo?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. His senior quote was "kicking bombs and kissing your moms." Was his senior quote, Mike, in his yearbook photo. So here's the hot take. With Colton Boomer, I don't need my kickers to be funny, Mike. I just need my kickers to make kicks. Do you agree or do you object?
I object.
I figured you would.
Yeah, I love this. I thought it was hilarious. One. Well, yeah, I mean, I need them to make kicks. And if you're going to be funny, that's just a bonus. If you're missing the kicks and you're funny, I don't care. You're not as funny anymore. but this was good. And I think I saw his mom's reply. And like, what are you talking? Whose moms are you kissing?
It's a great question. Great question by her.
But yeah, it shows he's got a little personality here on him. And now in the age of NIL, I mean, this kid could do some things here and make some money for himself. He's got the personality, it seems like. Now all he has to do is make the kick. But once he does that, he's going to set himself up nicely here with this stuff.
Yeah, he's obviously setting himself up to be a fan favorite, which he is. But again, he hasn't yet kicked a football in a college game through those yellow things. So that's what's interesting about it is he can be the funniest guy in the world, but if he goes out and gets the start in game one and shanks 3 field goals, I don't think his yearbook quote is going to be something that people are laughing at that point. So I enjoy the personality because it helps you and I talk about something, and it's good to get to know these kids. And I think generally speaking, I'm okay with it. It's an innocuous high school senior quote. I don't even remember what. Do you even remember what yours was? I have no clue what mine was.
I remember what mine was because it was not allowed in the yearbook.
That sounds about right.
And I never got in trouble in high school. I really didn't. But that one time they did call me into the office is because of my senior quote, and they didn't put it in the yearbook.
Is it something you can share here, or how are we feeling about this?
Yeah, it was a famous Confucius.
Oh, yes. Man
with hand in pocket.
Yeah.
Feel cocky all day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that didn't go in. So
yeah.
If you look at our yearbook, my quote is missing.
I actually spent 0% of my effort today finding our senior year yearbook. I don't even remember what mine was, so I'm good with that, Mike. Orlando Sentinel news today that the American Conference payout per team was $7.9 million. So UCF nets $7.9 million, Mike. On the grand scheme of things, $7.9 million isn't really so bad after all, Mike. Do you agree or do you object?
$7.9 million for what? No, I missed
the AAC payout. That's what the conference paid us this year for TV rights and all that other stuff.
Oh. Well, this was like tiered, right? So the first couple of years we were getting 5 or 3 or whatever, and this is the highest it got. It was almost 8.
Yeah, I believe that is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Not bad. No, I mean, it's not great. It's not great, but have we figured out what the payout's going to be to get out of this conference? Is it 18?
It is still undecided. There's still negotiations that are ongoing.
So we're basically going to have to pay twice as much as what we made this year. So I don't think the payout's great. Obviously, it's nothing compared to conferences like the SEC and Big Ten and all that. So I object, I guess. Is that the question?
Yeah. So you think 7.9 is fair? It's a good amount of money. We should be happy with 7.9.
No, definitely not. I mean, that's exactly the reason why we're getting out of the conference, because we're not happy with 7.9. Right? That is the main reason to move on to the Big 12. So,
yeah,
I mean, we'll take it. I guess it's better than being in the MAC or whatever it is. But
well, there we go.
It's not going to cut it going forward.
Yeah, according to the article, there are some factors that number is, I guess, less than maybe anticipated or than in previous years. COVID and some other factors are listed as reasons for that. But I mean, that just goes to underscore where potentially we are at with the Big 12, right? With the numbers that are potentially on the table in later years of that deal, right? Could be double or triple this. So to Mike's point, being on the doorstep of, gathering additional revenue, I think makes this number look small and tiny. And this probably underscores one of the main reasons why we are getting the heck out of here.
Yeah. And, Orozco tried to do some word Olympics when the deal was signed to make it seem like it was better than it actually was. I never really bought into it. But, as long as we're getting out of here soon. So whatever we had to pay, just pay it and never have to deal with this conference
Give
again.
me the 7.9 and get out of my way, Mike. All right, here's the next one. We mentioned off the top, softball goes to Oklahoma to play the number 1 ranked team in the nation, the Oklahoma Sooners. Mike, if we beat Oklahoma this weekend to win that super regional, it would be the biggest upset in school history. Agree or object?
Oh, biggest upset in school history. Now I'm drawing blanks again, trying to think of what the other upsets are. Have
we ever beaten a number 1 team in anything?
Have we ever beaten a number 1 team in anything? I have to say we have. Have we not?
Have we?
Anything?
And what have we done?
Get Elo on the phone.
Where has it been? Have I missed it? I don't know. Maybe back in that 77 volleyball dynasty you were talking about earlier. I guess if you're talking about the D1 era, because I'm sure it's possible back in like 1982, we had the number 1 rowing team in the nation and beat somebody, and who the heck knows that. But number 1 team in the nation, top seed.
We beat the number 1 team in baseball just like last year, right? Wasn't Mississippi number 1 or
Ole Miss? Yeah,
a couple years ago, Auburn was 1. We've beaten number 1 teams before in other sports.
Regular season game.
Regular season, yes. Do it in the playoffs, I know. I mean, this would be the biggest one for sure. I don't know if it's the biggest. Would it be the biggest upset? I mean, we are. It's not like we were a 4 seed in our region, and now here we go. It's not like Stony Brook a couple years ago when they won our region in baseball and went on to the College World Series. But to beat the number 1 overall seed would be huge. I'm drawing blanks on other. We have to have beaten number 1 teams in other sports before. Obviously, we've never done it in football. Basketball, I don't think we've ever done that either. Some of these other sports, I'm not sure. Baseball, yeah, I just mentioned that one baseball, but one of the 2001 baseball team back then, those guys never beat the number 1 team before. I don't know.
Biggest win in school history, agree or object?
If they win, Yes, because they'll have to beat them twice.
Yeah.
So how's that? They would have to beat the number 1 team twice. So yes, it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an easy one. Yeah, it's in the playoffs. It's obviously we are that's the lowest seeded matchup possible, right? 1 versus 16. That's how they set that up, right? So it's the lowest possible seed that Oklahoma could face, or the highest seed I guess we could face, and you have to beat them twice, and you get a trip to the College World Series. So the stakes on the other end are high. If somehow we pull this off, like a biggest win, biggest upset, whatever you want to call it, in school history, hands down.
Well,
put your hands
what
up.
about football? Just upset-wise, how many points was Baylor favored against us? 17 points, something like that?
I believe that's correct, yeah. Yep.
So, upset-wise, for a game, that might have been a bigger upset.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what the odds makers are.
20-0, Oklahoma just beat Texas A&M in softball. They run ruled them in the championship game, and it wasn't even a championship game.
Okay. I'll agree then.
It feels reluctant though. It feels like you've agreed, but you don't really agree.
I mean, I don't like when you give me this in UCF history thing, and I have to go back and I don't know all of it yet.
Okay.
I mean, if you're asking, play this game with Elo. I guarantee he has a couple other.
I believe Elo is on record as saying this would be the biggest thing ever to happen in UCF sports history.
Okay, don't ask Elo. Never mind Elo, because he's biased, obviously, with softball. You'd have to ask another historian. You'd have to ask Paul Advisor or Kevin Riggs.
Well, hopefully someone's listening to this and hasn't tuned us off after that Elton John segment and can tell us more specifically. Again, I think if we figure this thing out, Mike, again, I understand football and basketball are probably going to be the sports that take the most eyeballs and that'll gravitate towards, right? So that Fiesta Bowl win, obviously the Peach Bowl win will be ones that we talk about. But I think this is certainly got to be out there, Mike. All right. Last one. This is more of a fun one for you. This was trending on Twitter over the weekend because somebody brought it up and it became a conversation topic. So who the heck knows, Mike? And Timo actually acknowledged it. So here we go. UCF should bring back the blacktop basketball court. Agree or object?
Oh, I agree. That was my favorite court, was the blacktop. I thought it looked good. It was different. It wasn't black, but I thought it was cool. I always liked the blacktop court. It was way better than that roller coaster court that they had a couple years after that. So, and what we have now is kind of basic. So, I'd like to see the blacktop come back. You like the blacktop or not?
I do. Yeah, I wish it was a little darker though. It looked a little bit weird, and they kept the key the same wood color. So they got to figure that out a little bit. I'd love to see that maybe cleaned up, but I do. I think it was something different, something unique, something that you come in and you sort of see it, right? We saw Memphis do it with a blue court this year. Obviously, we've seen Boise State do it with the turf and football. So I'd like to see them do something a little bit unique. But that roller coaster was trash too. That was a dumb idea. That was a Danny White thing.
Oh.
That was one of Danny White's only misses, was that stupid court.
Yeah, that was ridiculous looking. I hated it. And I think Memphis actually, before they went to the blue court, had something similar too. It was all busy and stuff. I think maybe they had a skyline or something. I don't like those.
Oregon does trees. They have trees all over their court.
That looks a little weird.
Didn't FIU, didn't they do a beach on theirs?
I can't tell you if I've ever watched the FIU basketball.
Aren't you an alum there? You don't know this? I mean, I thought it's not in the newsletter or something? Man.
No. I don't even get anything from FIU. I did just get something from FAU.
All right.
Because I bought tickets to the game a couple years ago for when UCF played. They're trying to sell the tickets for UCF coming in town again this year. I still get emails from Boston College. The one time I bought tickets for a game when we went up there in 2008. And they still send me emails all the time about buying tickets.
You should look into it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we haven't played up there again, but that was a fun trip. Boston's a nice city.
Not right now because they're killing the heat. All right, let's get to our guest this week, Mike. I've been trying to find this guy for a while. We've had some messages back and forth. He's had some interesting scheduling stuff going on, but we finally tracked him down, Mike. One of the best defensive players that we've seen come through UCF, NFL guy. Shocking to learn in this interview that he's not a Hall of Famer, which I guess I assumed he was. I didn't even bother to look it up. Just a big-time name, someone who's doing a lot of good stuff here even after he's done with UCF, Mike. Elton Patterson. For those who don't know Elton Patterson, he was he wasn't the biggest guy in the world. He wasn't the strongest guy in the world, but he was kind of in that mold of defensive end, that sort of speed rush, kind of get below the tackles pads and get to the quarterback. Held a bunch of records for UCF for a long time. Still holds a couple of records for his all-time career. Stayed for 4 years. Just missed the Dante years, but it was kind of that bridge in the last couple of years of Kruzak. Was a part of a lot of great games and a lot of great memories. Was part of that team that beat Alabama. But Mike, just an overall solid player, and somebody, again, I was shocked to learn that he wasn't a UCF Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I didn't know that he wasn't either. The career he had was very good, and maybe now we're going to start the hashtag, EP for the Hall of Fame. So let's get it going. He deserves it, so it's possible. And a lot of other things we learned about this guy during this interview, stuff I didn't know before. So I think it's going to be a good one for you guys to tune into.
All right, well, Mike and I are going to go rummage through the Elton John catalog. You all enjoy Elton Patterson. All right, and we're pleased to have Elton Patterson join us now. First off, Elton, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on the show and share your memories about UCF.
Oh, yes, thank you, man. I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, let's start at the very beginning. Take us through your journey to UCF. I read some bio on you. It sounds like you had a really good connection with Coach Huff. Can you kind of tell us the story about how you decided to show up at UCF and enroll as a Golden Knight back in those days?
Yeah, man, Coach Huff, man, that was my guy. One of the best coaches I ever had. And it seems like he was at my school every day. It's back in the old school, go on the road and recruit players type days with not a lot of stars or whatnot. We didn't have star systems. But it seems like he was just at my school every day. And I liked the school. It was a small school back then, UCF, but it was my biggest offer. I didn't have any other offers. I had interest, but I didn't have any other Division I offers. Maybe I think Easton, Kentucky, but everything else was like AA. And I just wanted to play big-time football. And I think I looked at the schedule when I was coming out of high school, and it was Purdue, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and Florida on the schedule. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be my shot to play in front of a lot of people. And I really like the limelight, so I chose UCF.
Well, I mean, if people who have been to the campus and the stadium recently know what it looks like now, but it didn't look like that back in 1999 when you stepped on campus. Can you kind of walk us through what were facilities like? What was the locker room, the weight room, practice? What did you kind of walk into when you came to campus in 1999?
Well, it definitely was different. Definitely not what's there now. Some aspects, the structure, everything is the same, but so many more additions. And even then, it still had new dorm rooms and things like that. So I saw the development coming. But as far as for football, the old Wayne bench, yeah, it was just a regular little locker room. And the football fields was pretty nice. It still gave you the feel of I'm on a college campus, So coming from a small high school, it still felt like at that time I was going to a big-time school, right? But it's definitely nothing compared to what it is now,
Well, you had to play home games back then in the Citrus Bowl. What was that experience like? I mean, not even on campus, busing all the way down there, big giant stadium. We obviously didn't always fill the upper deck, but what was that experience like playing in a huge stadium like the Citrus Bowl?
You know what's funny? I think back then we thought it was normal, right? Because I couldn't fathom playing. I can't fathom playing on campus, right? So that's kind of the new thing. Like, oh, you get to play on campus, but busing over there to the games, and the bus driver is Asante, me and Asante and Samuel and Travis Fisher. We would cut the music up, put a CD in, and just be rocking on the bus all the way down I-4 from the hotel and getting ready for the game. So that was like our pregame ritual, and we made it fun. So it really wasn't a drag back then, but definitely not better than what I can imagine having an on-campus stadium in the locker room. That just sounds crazy to me. That sounds fun, but back then it wasn't too bad. Back then.
What was the music you guys were listening to? There was a couple of songs.
The Hot Boys, like in the early 2000s, Lil Wayne and the Hot Boys, all those, that was our jam. Bling Bling and all of that was the jam back then.
Yeah, we remember it well. So you did not redshirt your freshman year. You came right in and played right away. Was that the plan coming in? were you supposed to redshirt that first year or no?
Well, I think everyone guessed, and I think Coach Huff, he was really high on me, and I think you're kind of guessing. And I remember this story. Coach Cox, he was the defensive tackles coach, and I think he overheard us saying like, "Man, I hope I can be on the travel team, and I want to make the team." And that's one thing he taught me back then, and I kept with me for life, was that he was like, "Hey, in life, don't worry about what you can and can't do. Just go out there and give your best. And if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. But don't worry about stuff you can't control. You can't control being on a travel squad or not. So tend to not to worry about things you can't control in life." And that stuck with me. So I just went out there and just did the best that I could. And I don't think when I came, I was expected to be a starter or even play that year. But I did good and did even better. And next thing you know, I was like the youngest guy that was dressing on the D-line after everybody.
Well, that 99 team that came in with, I mean, we just lost Dante. He graduates, right? And he's out of there. But that team was really good. 10-2, I think, the year before. And then you guys come in. What were the expectations for that season? New quarterback, new everything.
Well, I think the expectations were Dante brought a ton of notoriety to UCF. We was kind of coming on the map by then, like a big-time school, big-time athletes. But it was like a default school at the same time. So I think the presence of Dante Culpepper brought big-time players that weren't big then. We all didn't have really big-time scholarships, but we became big-time players, but we had a work ethic. So I'm talking about from Asante Samuel, who was supposed to go to Georgia, but didn't have a real scholarship, right? Travis Fisher was supposed to go to Miami, but ended up at UCF. Brandon Marshall ended up coming in, supposed to go to Florida. They ended up at UCF. So we all knew we was good at the time. Atari Bigby. We all knew we was good, but it was like, hey, we here now, let's go get it. So it was just one of those things, man. We kind of grew to love the grind and the underdog phase.
Well, that 99 year, you mentioned it off the top. I mean, it starts with a really interesting schedule for you guys. I mean, you essentially play 4 ranked teams in a row, 3 of them on the road. And probably the most memorable game of that early stretch was the game at Georgia, now known as the burglary between the hedges. We've talked to a lot of different players. We talked to Vic Penn. We even talked to Coach Kruzak. We talked to Borlegi about that game. What are your memories from that game, and how did you experience what was happening there towards the end when UCF, quote unquote, lost?
It was the start. It's weird. It was the start of like, wow, I came from high school 4 months ago to playing in front of 70,000 people, right? And then they had big-time players, too, that we paid attention to. They had a national spotlight. Quincy Carter, Marcus Stroud. Like, I'm looking at these guys. Charles Grant, huge running back. I think he was like 260 running downhill. So we was like, this is big. But you know what? We knew we was good, and we knew we could play, and we had some dogs on our team. Charles Lee, Kenny Clark. We just had a bunch. We was well-knitted, tight group. And we knew we could win if we put it all together. So like you said, fast forward, this fourth quarter, we're like, oh, I think we can win, right? And now the crowd is getting a little quieter and quieter, and we're going to make history. And like you said, I think it was Kenny Clark, if I'm not mistaken. They called that pass interference.
There's Kenny.
To kick us out of field goal range. And we was like, we can't believe it. Wow, this is it. That was supposed to be the big moment. It wasn't an Alabama game. That was going to be the big moment that we came and beat. So we had never beat a ranked team or a big-time school before. So that was going to be our moment right there.
Well, a lot of people
was crushed afterwards.
A lot of people forget, though. I mean, we could have actually kicked a field goal. Kruzak decided to spike the ball. Borlegi had been struggling a little bit, so as opposed to basically running the clock and trying to kick a game-winning field goal, he decided to throw one more pass, which was the Kenny Clark thing. Did at the time were you like, man, let's kick this thing, coach, or were you kind of riding with, hey, let's win this thing on a touchdown?
I think, when you're on defense and a rookie or a freshman player, you just on the sideline watching like the fans at that point. I don't know what was going on for real, but it was a sight. I was literally not necessarily a player, but a fan cheering for my favorite team, which was UCF offense at the time, right? Like, offense on the field, let's go. And like you said, once you see that offensive pass interference, you just like your heart drops. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, you got a lot of playing time your first year in total. Did you feel like you got better as the season went on? Were you kind of getting more comfortable? I mean, you said you're kind of a freshman, you're learning a little bit on the job. Did you feel more comfortable as the season kind of went on, that you were figuring this thing out, that you were kind of getting a little bit more acclimated to the college game?
No, I think I was good and terrible my freshman year. And when I say that, I think I had some ability and I had heart and desire and hustle. But as far as technique and actually getting the job done, and I would say as a semi-professional player, like I remember we played the Florida game, and the guy, he just used great. I think it was Kenyatta Walker. He was like a offensive tackle. He was going to the league first round, and he blocked me 15 yards down the field. And that's the first time I didn't have a tear come out my eye, but he hurt my feelings so bad that I was like, man, is this real? Like, this is college. He's blocking me down. And I was just like, I got to get it together. So I think Fred Harley and Marv Richardson, a couple of older guys, Mike Hulsman, they kind of like brought me in like, hey, young, you got some talent, but take your time, such and such. And then Coach Huff was drilling me. He was demanding that I get better as far as my work ethic. So my main thing became where I got better by the end of the year was let me outwork everybody. I'm not going to be the strongest out here as a freshman. I'm not going to be the quickest, but let me outwork everybody, which is you throw that ball, turn and run to the ball, come do this. And I was just doing a lot of extra stuff to outwork people. But it was definitely an eye-opener. Like, this is real out here. This is, like, real.
Going into next year, 2000, there's some more big games on the schedule, right? We got Georgia Tech, we've got Alabama, we got Virginia Tech, and we just talked about how we had that missed opportunity in Georgia. So before the season, is there a lot of talk leading into these games? Hey, we got to circle these games. We got to win at least one of them. You guys talking about that at all, or are you just taking it week by week?
Oh, yeah, no. I think coming into that, because I think the schedule was set up back then. I don't know if people understand about UCF, but we were the school that teams paid to play, right? So, and I think the AD at the time, don't remember his name, but his goal was to get UCF as much money as he could. So it would be a slaughterhouse. And we knew our chances of winning going into these teams, the top teams ranked, top 25 teams for the beginning of the season. Like, all right, we might start off 4-0, but we're going to get one of these teams, right? And that was our mindset going in. It's like, yeah, we the underdogs every week, but we just want to go play. We just got to go play. And that's how we went into my sophomore year. And coming off that spring, I had a great spring that year, and I was going to be the starter. So my goal was to get 10 sacks and be the guy. And I think that's around the same time Don Page came from Auburn, and he was a great DN. And we just had a ton of talent by that time. Like, our young guys that played was me, Asante Samuels, and we all kind of became leaders as sophomores. And we knew what we had. We knew we could put it together and make a run for it. We didn't think we was gonna start off 4-0 necessarily, but those games against Auburn, that was even close. I don't think people understand how close that game was.
Nope. All right, well, let's get to the one that we actually did pull off, the Alabama game. It was a crazy game. I just rewatched it about a year ago. We started off with like a tip pass, and I think McKibben comes down with an interception. And both teams go on runs. We score like 14 unanswered. They score like 21 unanswered, and we come back. Just take me throughout that whole day. How wild was that game?
Man, okay. Alabama by far was like one of the biggest national. Well, we played a lot of big teams, but this was a huge game because it was their homecoming. So we was the homecoming team going into there to play. And they had a Heisman Trophy guy over there. Freddie Millins was up for the Heisman. And I think, like you said, once we got out there and closed out the crowd, we really started playing ball, man. And we really started clicking. And we knew they was going to get theirs, but we stayed inside of the game. And now we started to believe. And now we got a little bit, as a whole team, we got a little bit of, we're not going to let that happen what happened to Georgia. We're not going to let this happen this game. Let's keep it. Let's keep it going. And I even think the coaches was on the same page. Like, let's not let that happen. Let's keep it going. Let's keep our foot on their necks, and we're going to close this thing out. And so everybody started believing at the same time.
What's your favorite play from that game? Obviously, the game-winning field goal Borlegi hits, but there's some other classics in there. You got Davin Bush, the interception return for a touchdown. You got the touchdown that Hinshaw catches in the end zone where his helmet pops off. There's so many big plays in that game. You have a couple favorites?
Yeah, those are a couple that sticks out to me. Was that Hinshaw catch that helmet off? That was epic. And then Bush, he was running so fast.
Did he step out of bounds?
Bush was running so fast.
I rewatched it. It looked like he might have stepped out of bounds. I asked him about it. He said no.
He said absolutely did not step out of bounds.
I don't know. They don't have great camera system back then, so we didn't really know. But he was excited, man. And I think those kind of plays kind of got everybody on the sideline, like really pumped, really going. And we played a good defensive game too. Like we was out there, like definitely holding them down. They weren't just running up and down the field on us. We was really holding it down as a defensive unit. We knew that they liked the screen game a lot. So my thing was, what Coach Huff had us as the D-line, we're going to take off and we're going to run to the ball and we're going to make sure that we tackling people outside of the numbers, right, when they're doing a lot of wide receiver screens. I remember that specifically about that game. So I don't think they understood, like, yeah, y'all might be more bigger and have more depth, but we're not going to give up. We're just going to run all around this field. And that's what we did.
All right, the week after that's the classic letdown game, right? We're at Louisiana Tech. You go from 83,000 in Alabama to 12,000 at Louisiana Tech. We actually win 20-16. But that game, Elton, you had 3 sacks. You did that twice in your career. That was the first time you had a 3-sack game. What is that experience like for as a defensive player? Is that kind of like being in the zone? Is that like a basketball player who just can't miss, or maybe a baseball pitcher who's just throwing strikes? Is that like being in the zone when you can put a game together like that where you get multiple sacks?
Yeah, I think in that Louisiana Tech game, what I remember about it was cold and rainy. So it was just like, wow, what's going on here? Louisiana gets kind of wet. But we went into that game with a special defense. I don't know why our coaches wanted to go through a special defense, but it allowed the DN to stand up and rush through the middle. And I think that mixed up that they hadn't seen before, that look. I think it was called gut blitz or something like that. And I think that mix-up kind of messed them up. Gene Chizik was our D coordinator at the time. Yep. So I think he wanted to mix things up, and we did it. And I came through a couple times on that way, and then I might have had a couple pressures where I got close. So, yeah, definitely I started looking at them in the eyes when I'm about to take off, and I see the offensive tackle looking nervous, and I'm in my zone now. Once I get that, I'm in my zone. I'm going to hunt now. So that was my thing with the 3 sacks.
Is that something you did every game? You just stopped to see how the offensive lineman across from you reacted, and you could tell whether or not you were going to have a big game based on what you saw back?
Yeah, because sometimes, they all come out kind of hyped. But now, once I got down to my stand, and I knew they watched film, they like, Elton, he's going to take off and all this stuff. So my thing was getting off the ball really fast. So once I got down, I peek at their eyes, and if they looking nervous, so they feel like they need to make sure they don't give up a sack, I knew I had them. So that was one of my key things. I always looked at their eyes.
Well, that year, another game we don't talk a lot about, we wrap up at home. Virginia Tech comes to town. Michael Vick did not play. He was injured. But 50,000 people packed the Citrus Bowl, which was a huge number for UCF back then. What do you remember about that game? Obviously, a tough one from our standpoint. Lee Suggs ran all over the defense, unfortunately, that day with 5 touchdowns. But what do you remember about that atmosphere, having close to 50K plus cheering you guys on in the Citrus Bowl?
I think that game solidified us of UCF for what you see today. Like, it took us over the top. Like, 50,000 people. We got at least, it's not an empty Citrus Bowl. That's one thing about the Citrus Bowl. It used to be empty all the time because it's so big. So having 50,000, it was just a heck of a game to be like, let's go play, let's go have fun. And like you said, Lee Suggs was, you just knew he was going to the NFL the way he ran that ball. He ran through it. But you couldn't take away the atmosphere, and we felt like something was growing right now. Like, this is cool. Like, we got 50,000 people at a game from UCF, never been done before, breaking records. It was a great momentum game to go. And we kind of knew we was building a program, too. Like, we weren't naive on just saying we just here. We kind of knew we was doing things inside a UCF football program that had never been done before. So we embraced that role. We embraced that moment.
When you wrap up your sophomore year, a pretty solid season. You even set a goal. You had 10 sacks that year. You had 19 tackles for loss. You got to be feeling pretty good after your freshman year, hoping to make the travel team down to now being a big-time contributor on defense. But what did you want to really focus on that offseason coming into your junior year to put you over the top?
Going into that, I'm like, okay, I'm going into my junior year, but it's almost like I'm going into my senior year because I had to solidify my position, right? I knew I was going to work hard. And now teams are starting to come around with the NFL, and you might have a junior day, different things like that. So now it's like, okay, this is real. I probably can. I always had a childhood dream of going to the NFL. I might actually have a chance if I keep this up. So let me outdo those numbers and let me just keep going. Like, that was my whole that spring was probably my most focused spring because I went hard to try to do better than what I did my sophomore year.
Yeah, so we start that junior year, a couple more tough losses. The Clemson game, the Syracuse game. We thought maybe we were over the hump after that Alabama. We finally got that win, but then we have a couple of these. What was it about those games? Why couldn't we just pull those things out?
That Clemson game, oh my gosh. we were so close. And it seemed like every time I have a story about these teams, somebody was on the other side that was like world renowned. But I think Woodrow Dantzler was at Clemson. He was like Heisman Trophy winner. And I think I look up and it's like 20-22 or something like that. I don't know it was that score. But I'm like, I think we can win this. And they did like a fake field goal. It was something weird that they got. It was like, oh my gosh, it was so close. I think we knew we were supposed to beat Syracuse. Right? And that was kind of like, they're a good team, but we can beat them. But they had Dwight Freeney, right? Top 10 guy. He was wreaking havoc on the offensive line that year. So it was just one of those close things. I think if we had a little bit more depth as far as looking back, hindsight 2020, I think we beat Clemson if we have a little bit more depth instead of just like I played 70 snaps that game at Clemson. I remember that. I was like completely dehydrated. And that was at the beginning of the season playing like 72, 73 defensive snaps, you know?
Yeah.
That season, Elton, you had 5 forced fumbles that year total. That actually, you're still in the record book. You're still tied with first with Greg Jefferson and Tony Hardman for a number of forced fumbles in a year. Was that something you guys were taught? Was that just instinct on your part to just see ball and try to go after it? How did you end up with 5 forced fumbles that season?
Yeah, so we call it the tomahawk. So when you go and you get through the line, you don't just hit the quarterback. Right, it's something that you practice. But when you come, you swipe down when you tackle at the same time. So anytime I had a chance to get to the quarterback, I was swiping at it, right? And that's why most of them come. So sometimes the quarterback would get the ball back, or sometimes we would get it on my sacks. But that's what I did. It was planned to say, we're going to swipe at this ball, swipe at the arm, try to get the ball out every time you get to them. Don't just get the tackle.
Well, that season, again, Mike mentioned your year in 2001. You had 8 sacks, you had 5 forced fumbles, you had 20 TFLs. You mentioned it earlier. Was there any thought at the end of that junior year of you maybe trying the pro route, maybe declaring for the draft? Did you have any conversations about maybe leaving early?
Yeah, I think that year I was actually planning on getting like 15 or 16 sacks, but they started game planning for me,
sure.
Right? So they started chipping me a lot, double teams. So I didn't quite have the junior year that I expected to have. Although it was good, I was just expecting to like really go off the charts. And my coach was like, well, we're going to come back. And I already knew I was coming back. It wasn't popular to leave early back then in the early 2000s, like unless you were just an all-world player. But, most kids stayed in school. It's reversed now. Most people come out juniors, but we talked about it, maybe put my name in the draft just to see what the buzz was. But I never did it. And I was just like, let me just focus in on my senior year and enjoy this moment.
Yeah, so your senior year, 2002, a lot of changes around the program. You mentioned Coach Chiswick, he leaves. We got a new defensive coordinator. Does that change the way that, one, how your position is handled or defensive schemes, any effect on you that way?
I think directly, no, right? Same system, same D-line coach. And the coach that took over, he was the linebacker coach. I think it was Billy D'Ottavio.
Yep.
So it was the same system. However, that intangible aspect of having Coach Chiz there, I definitely think it was a big change of having Coach Chiswick there. Coach Chiswick had us really believing, like as a unit, third down, like we was a very close-knit group with Coach Chiswick. And it makes sense for him to go get that kind of big-time job and go win a national championship. He was that, and he was that guy with us. We knew he was that kind of coach. So it definitely was a drop-off going into my senior year when Coach Chiz left.
Yeah. Well, another big change that year, too, is UCF finally joins a conference. So now we're in the MAC after being independent all these years. But, I mean, we're playing teams up in the Northeast every week. One, did you enjoy playing in a conference? Did you like the schedule better that way? And also, was there a big difference playing all these cold weather games? Did you like that or did you not like that?
Right. Ready for action. I remember that going. It was a exciting time to go to it. I was on the poster that year.
You
I was
were,
excited, ready for action, but it was exciting to be a part of something. Like you always wanted to be a part of something. So going into the conference, huge. Everybody excited. The whole city is excited. All of UCF excited, right? But like you said, until we go play Miami of Ohio, it's 14 or 42 degrees up there or whatever, right? Ben Roethlisberger at the time throwing 70-yard bombs and stuff. And then you got to go play Buffalo and it's freezing cold. Oh, it was grueling. It was grueling to have to do it. And everybody, at least 70% of the teams from Florida, never seen snow or had to play none of that. So it was definitely, I understand the sacrifice that we had to take as UCF, but I don't know if that's the best move to make us play in that kind of weather geographically, because I think it took a huge toll on us.
Did you think you had an advantage on those teams early in the year when they had to come down here? Obviously, they're not used to the heat, so it kind of goes both ways, right?
Correct. A couple of teams, boys on the field be like, man, I don't know how y'all playing this. And we like, it's 70 degrees, man. What do you mean? Like, they're dying out there. But I do think, honestly, it's harder to play in cold weather because you have to fight the physical and mental, opposed to having to come and play in warm weather where, it's hot, but you can cool off. When it's cold out there. It's tough. I think, and that goes all the way to the NFL. It's an advantage to be able to be used to playing in cold weather.
Well, one team that was actually pretty well hyped that year in the MAC was Marshall, and we got a chance to get up there. A nice game was on ESPN2, so it was a big game. And back then they had Byron Leftwich, who was a big prospect, right? Somebody that a lot of NFL scouts were working at. But from your standpoint, right, you want to get a chance to hit him, right? Like that's a good matchup for you. How excited were you to get a chance to play somebody like a Leftwich in your senior year on TV like that to kind of show who you were?
Oh, man, I was like, I got to get to him. He's going to be throwing this ball. Everyone talks about how great he is. He was all over the news at the time. So, and then, like you said, a national televised game. So we were definitely pumped, man. I was excited. He was just throwing that ball so quick. Like, my goodness, he was getting that ball out quick. He was great. Yeah, he was one of the better quarterbacks I ever played against as far as just throwing the ball. And he was getting it out so timely that it was hard to get to him. But it was definitely an exciting game, a fun game.
Did you think that was the start of a fun rivalry, or to Mike's question earlier, where you kind of like, man, Marshall's in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, this isn't gonna be a thing for us?
I thought it did. I thought it brought something new, right? Because we hadn't had too much anything established before that as far as rivalry, and we were just showing up and playing people. But that was like a comparable team for us that was like, okay, something new. Like, I could see us, like, we can get them that time. And it was like the pedestal, like, not necessarily going in and being being a huge underdog, but these teams good, and I think we can beat them. So, yeah, I think that began something great.
All right, not to always harp on the negative, but that year you guys had a tough loss, lose a close one in the opener to Penn State. Mike kind of went through some of these already, right? I mean, Georgia, Clemson, Penn State, Auburn. Is there one of those losses that still kind of eats at you to this day, that you still wake up in the middle of the night like, man, we should have won that one? Is there one that sticks with you?
Yeah, oh man, that senior year of Penn State was tough because that was my year, right? Like, coming out here, 12 o'clock ESPN game, and I still was trying to figure out how we lost that one, man. And that was an epic moment because, you know, Joe Paterno over there on the sideline, and it was just like, we could have won that game. But to be honest with you, the Alabama win oversees all of those losses. That one Alabama win, I think, was just the pedestal of, like, talked about for a long time, man. And we weren't expecting to win any of those other games. That win oversees all the other losses.
Overall, the season not bad. I mean, we went 7-5, 6-2 in the conference, but we get left out of a bowl game. And at this point, we still had not ever played in a bowl game. So were you guys pissed off when you found out about that, or what was the reaction at the end of the year?
I would say hurt. Like, what else do we need to do? Like, because I think the 4 teams we lost to was all big-time schools, right? So, yeah. Well, most of them. I mean,
and Marshall.
We lost. Yeah, Marshall. But it's like, they didn't pick us in there, and I just thought, like, that would have been great for me to play one bowl game. Because I had this thing in my career, and people laugh about it, but I have a personal record that I never played in any postseason game in my whole entire career. All the way back to high school. Never played in no playoff after the season game, including the NFL. So I think that year was like my closest year, and they just didn't choose us. So it was like, screw. Oh, man.
All right. So, but sum up your career. You had a very solid 4 years there. What are your biggest memories? What do you miss the most about being out there playing for UCF?
My biggest memory at UCF was just the camaraderie, the close friends. Like, I still talk to all my guys that went to UCF at the time from Asante Samuels. We was roommates. We still close, almost talk every other day. The Brandon Marshalls and the Travis Fisher, we talk almost every other day. So the network of guys, I think it's hard for teams to get closeness within the players like that nowadays. And I really miss that aspect of being there with my teammates and stuff. Also, I think we knew we was building something big back then, but to look back to see where UCF has come from and we was part of that foundational process, it makes me proud, man. I love coming back. I love seeing my name up there as far as the player that made it out, and I just love to see. I'm a forever UCF Knight, and to know where it came from, to be a part of that building process, I really appreciate it. I love it.
Well, take us to what happens next. Obviously, you mentioned off the top, you're a kid. You grow up dreaming about playing football, and then your name gets called in the NFL draft. What's that experience like when you get that phone call that you're going to go play in the NFL? That's got to be just such an emotional moment for somebody who's worked for their entire life to get to that point.
Man, it was not just emotional, nerve-wracking. My gosh, I've never been that nerve-wracked before in my life. I think I was like second to the last pick or something in the draft. And I just, I felt like I was always the underdog guy. Like, coming from high school, I felt like I didn't get the scholarship offers I deserved, right? Then once I got to UCF and breaking all these records and having phenomenal seasons, I wasn't getting the notoriety I deserved. So that was the first moment I felt like, wow, like, yes, and it was a blessing to get my name called. I didn't care if it was going to be the last pick. But for me getting drafted, and I didn't get invited to the combine, which means you got a less than 1% chance of getting drafted, right? But for me to do that and not get invited to the combine and still get drafted out of UCF, a so-called small school, it was a huge accomplishment for me.
Well, you're still involved with the game now. Tell people what you're doing now. I know you're still active and helping a bunch of young guys out. What are you working on now?
I'm actually a sports agent now. I got certified. I came back to UCF and got my master's degree back in 2010, 11. And I became certified with the NFLPA. And true story, funny story, the George O'Leary story. I'm there on campus, and he's like, "Hey, Patterson, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Coach, yeah, I'm over here in the athletic development, athletics. I want to go back to school, and I'm working on getting my master's. Well, you need to be a GA. I need you here as a coach. And I was like, I don't want to coach. You don't want to be over there in that office. It's just funny, right? So, either way, I was like, yeah, coach, I don't want to coach. I appreciate it. So I turned out coaching because I knew the commitment to coaching you have, like time and everything. And I didn't want to be that involved with football. I'd rather be on the backhand side of football. So it was either going to be an athletic director, right? That's one of my goals, to be an athletic director. I was like, I'm going to be an athletic director at UCF one day, or be an agent. And I was simultaneously trying to look into both in 2011, and I passed my agent test, which was very hard. I ended up passing. So I was like, I think I'm going to go with this because it'll give me time, flexibility, and then let me do the things I love, which is help younger guys and help mold careers. And, I just love it.
Well, you got some UCF clients, right? You've had some guys who've come out of UCF that have signed with you, right?
Yeah. That's a wonderful thing there. I had Jeremy Boykins, right? He did really good. Jeremy, he's a heck of a player, man. Not a lot of people knew about him, but he was a great athlete. And then I had Jordan Franks. Jordan came through. He was always a good player. He didn't have a ton of pub coming out, but we got him in there. And so, yeah, I had a couple of UCF guys. I need to get more. I need to be the guy for UCF. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, we got to set that up. Let's go.
Right, yeah, Elton Patterson. Look, hey, you need to call Elton Patterson when you're coming out. He's going to take care of you. But no, that's my thing, man. I just wanted to take care of the guys, be honest and upfront. It's a rough world out there. So to have somebody you can trust and help, not just be an agent, but help mold and walk along with you on your journey to the NFL, somebody who's been there, right? That was my premise of it. And that's what I still want to offer to those guys.
What do you think about all this college football nowadays with the NIL and guys getting paid while they're playing? Completely different world from when we were there, right?
No, 100% different, man. My thing is this. I'm gonna keep it short, but I think it was overdue for players to get paid, no doubt about it. It's my opinion, but not necessarily on NIL. And I wish the NCAA would have kind of just, I don't know, put them on minimum wage or something to try to keep control of it. But I definitely think those guys, when you're out there risking your life, I remember when I came out my senior year, they had number 97 jersey in the student union selling in the bookstore, and I had to buy it. Like, I noticed my jersey, I can put my name on it. It don't make sense, right? So I think it's definitely deserving. I wish it was just a little bit more control over it. And this one thing I had a sports and ethics class in my master's in 2011, and we had a debate about it. And most people saying college players shouldn't get paid, but I said yes, but put it in a 401k. So every year that they letter, just give them $10,000 to put in 401k for later on in life. And the professor at that time was like, that's a great idea. And I probably should have proposed it to the NCAA before all the NIL came out. But I just think it was something that should have been done. But it is what it is now. Wild, Wild West now.
Yeah, it's because the schools didn't want to give up any of their own money. And now they got other people paying the kids, and they found a way around it. But it's crazy times now.
Correct.
But
correct.
You follow UCF very closely still, huh? You still go to a couple games, or you still?
Yeah, I didn't make it. I didn't make it last year. But no, I definitely like get a couple games. I call up some of the boys and be like, hey, let's go to this game this date. And they're like, all right, cool, we'll meet there. So as long as they invite me, they like to have me around, I love coming around, man. My thing, man.
Were you at the Peach Bowl when we beat Auburn? Were you at that? I know a lot of guys came back for that one.
Yes, I was right there. Travis Fisher was coaching then. Yep. Like I said, he's a close friend of mine. He was under the Frost thing, and that was an epic moment right there. And I just love being around there. And I came to a lot of games that year, actually, quite a few.
And how do you feel about the whole new regime that the Malzahn era has started? You like where the team's heading right now?
Yeah, I do, honestly. I think it's a lot of promise. You know how it goes in steps. So we came from a low-end school, right? And we kind of went to the next level by the time I left. And then, like, O'Leary came in, and they took it to the next level. And, now I think this is going to like the next level on where we at. That's the transition we're going, like top 10 type team down, and I'm excited about it.
What year was it when you? I mean, I assume as you kind of came out in the league and you were a professional, and people asked you where you went to school, you said UCF, right? I'm sure the first couple of years people were like, "What's UCF? Where's that at?" What year was it when people stopped asking you that question? When you were like, "Oh, I went to UCF," and they're like, "Oh, cool, I know where that is." Like, do you remember what year that was when it finally, like, you think register with everybody?
I think they started getting a little bit, and I think it was so weird. It's like it was University of Central Florida, so I think the school had to officially make a media announcement that we're going by UCF.
Right.
So then that was like 07, right? 06, 07, right? And then they started getting this, oh, you went to that school, USF. And I'm like, no, UCF, not no USF. But to anybody outside of Florida, it was like, I don't know, because they kind of started coming up a little bit. But I would say all together, the whole UCF brand really started coming together around, like when Blake Bortles them started coming in. And Kevin did great for the school at running back. Like I think he really made some great strides for the school, and people started notarizing like UCF term.
All right. Well, you've been very generous with your time, but we end every interview around here with some fun questions, kind of some getting to know you questions. Could be about music, movies, sports. Could be anything under the sun. So, are you ready to face these hard hitting, tough questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Elton. So if you and I were going to go out and we were going to split a pizza, what are you going to put on your half of the pizza?
Basic pepperoni.
That's it?
If I'm in my healthy mode, I'm gonna do olives and cheese
with the pepperoni.
No, that's just the healthy. I want to do my healthy. I want to feel good. Like just
olives and cheese. Okay. If we get a large, right? You get 6 slices. I get 6 slices. How many of those you putting down these days?
I'm not a huge heavy eater, so I would probably go like 2 or 3. After 3, I'm gonna feel like I'm doing.
Oh wow. Okay. Elton needs a box. Okay. All right. I didn't have that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, we went to school at the same time as you. We were there 98 to 2002, so we know all the famous hangout spots. What was your favorite place when you guys were just chilling out after, not even during the season, when you had to go out at nighttime? Where were you guys going?
Okay, headlights. Headlights?
Yes,
of course,
of course.
The headlights was the spot. That's where we was going. Me and the crew, we're going to ride down Alafaya Trail, and we're going to hit up headlights. Then nightlights. I think it was nightlights, right? I don't know if it was like a spot called nightlights back in the day. We didn't go out downtown too much. So I think headlights was our spot.
Yeah, headlights was the main one. I remember. I think it was Wednesday nights was the big night there.
Correct. Right.
All right,
I remember.
Here's a humble brag moment for you. You are still UCF's career leader in tackles for loss, which includes sacks. Do you know how many you have? What's the leading number? What is your number of tackles for loss in your UCF career?
Let's see. 63.
Ooh, 59.5. You are number one, 59.5. Bruce Miller right behind you at 57.5. So you have a comfortable lead. Nobody, at least in the current realm, anywhere close to you. You may hold this one for a while, Elton.
Wow. Okay, cool. I was shooting for it. I think I was up there with the sacks for a while, but I didn't even realize the whole pack. Why aren't I in the Hall of Fame at UCF?
That's a great question. Okay, that's a great question. You are third in sacks. Bruce Miller 35.5. Daryl Rudd 31.5. You have 30.5. So you are right there in the top 5.
And they stole one from me at Penn State because I sacked that guy and they told me he was a half inch behind. So it was like 10.5. I'm like, that's a sack. It's behind the line of scrimmage. They didn't give it to me though, but that's a whole nother story.
In my official record book, I'm gonna change it right now. 31.5 sacks for Elton Patterson. Done deal.
Right.
We're starting the campaign.
I'm doing it right now.
EP for the Hall of Fame. Start it now.
Right. Why not? Jeez.
Yeah, wow, I didn't realize that. You're not in the Hall of Fame? Wow.
No, never got a call or anything. I mean, I won the Defensive Player of the Year that year, my senior year, I think, with the team. I just don't know what I would need to do.
Man, and you got a master's degree. I mean, you graduated. I mean, yeah, you meet all the criteria. We'll make a phone call. No one's gonna answer. No one's gonna answer that call, by the way. But I'll make one for you.
We can get a hashtag going.
Done.
All right, you mentioned how you didn't like when people confused us with USF, but you guys never played USF the years you were there. Have you developed a hate for that school like we have just as a fan?
Yeah, like it was kind of hype, right? It was kind of hype for a while, but now it's like beneath us. We're like, who is USF now? Like, they're not even close no more. They came on strong for a while. I think Mike Hughes, when he did that kickback,
yeah,
right?
He buried him.
That was the dagger for USF right there. It was it. It was like, we're not even going to build y'all rivalry no more. That was it. That was a huge game, man. That was exciting. I was there that night.
Yeah, that was crazy.
All right, Elton, I've seen pictures of you currently. You're a big, strong, good-looking man. So let's imagine for a moment you're going to star in a movie, kind of like a Lethal Weapon situation, right? It's going to be a buddy cop movie. You're the main cop, right? And you can pick one of your former teammates to be your co-star in the movie, your buddy cop partner. Which of your former teammates you want starred in the movie next to you in this buddy cop picture? Who are you going to pick?
And it's more built off of funny or serious?
Well, you tell me. I mean, what do you want? Do you want a comedy? Do you want a drama? I mean, what kind of actor do you want here?
Okay, I would go funny. If I'm gonna do funny, man, the character I'm gonna say is Travis Fisher. That guy is funny, man. Like, I always felt like he's in character all the time, and I think that's why he's a great coach right now in Nebraska, because he's so relatable. Like, he's gonna have you laughing. Like, even if it's just at the store, he's gonna do something funny, and he would be the comedic part. I'll probably be the guy that's all serious, and he would be the comedic part that'll balance the whole movie out.
Well, I don't know what's going on with Will Smith these days. Maybe you guys can take over the Bad Boys franchise. Maybe you and Travis Fisher, you could just do the new buddy cop. I don't know. We'll start that hashtag. I'll start that hashtag too.
Right.
Did you ever have any classes with Torchy?
With who?
Torchy Clark? Oh, no?
I didn't. I never had a class. I heard about it all the time. All the football players talked about it, but I never had a class with him.
Oh, man, I was going to ask you about that guy because he was something, man.
I've heard.
All right, so let's switch it up. Are you an NBA fan? Are you a fan of any of the teams still playing?
I'm only a fan of NBA. I only watch the NBA during playoffs. So I don't have like a favorite team I'm rooting for. I'm an underdog guy. So who's ever the underdog, I kind of root for him. Like, I'm rooting for Dallas Mavericks right now. It's not looking good.
No, it's not looking good. No. Luka.
Just rooting for Game 7s in every series.
Right.
All right, what's one hidden talent that you have that many people wouldn't suspect that you have? Maybe you're a good artist, you're a singer. Is there a talent you have you don't think people would expect you to have?
That's a good question. I'm actually a writer. Like, I wrote a book. Like, I can write. Like, that's just something that's God-given. I can write stories, paragraphs. I enjoy it. Like, that's one thing that's a hidden talent. Like, with word choice and all that stuff, that's one thing I would say that I can do fairly good.
Wait, you wrote a whole book? What's the name of the book?
Ambition Equals Success.
Wow.
On Amazon.
Okay. Man, I'm gonna start a hashtag. Wow. Can you juggle too? Is there anything you can't do, Elton? Jeez.
Yes, I'm an author, man.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
To be invisible.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know why. I'm not really. I'm open. I'm not really a people's person, but if I can just be invisible and go through the world, that'd be great.
Would you use that power for good, or would you use that power to like, mess with some of your teammates, like just flip their bed upside down, or are you going to win the lottery? What are you going to do with that power?
You remember that movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd be messing with people, messing with them, having them scared running down the street or something.
Well, look, we appreciate you taking so much time out of your schedule and going down memory lane with us. Obviously, you mentioned it. You were one of the legendary players at UCF. We got to get you in the Hall of Fame somehow because that's a travesty. But we appreciate you taking some time to hop on with us, man. And hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with you soon. Maybe see you at a game this year or something like that. But we definitely appreciate you taking the time.
Okay, anytime, man. I really enjoyed it, man. Love talking about UCF.
Okay, sons of UCF, both of you, you are the father.
All right, hopefully everybody enjoyed Elton Patterson. Again, we got to get that hashtag, EP to the Hall of Fame. I don't know who we got to call, Mike. I mean, they're not going to answer our call if we do call. But what would you rather see, Elton Patterson in the Hall of Fame or Elton Patterson and Travis Fisher in Bad Boys 4?
It's got to be that.
Fair enough.
But, we don't have to make any calls because, as we know, people at UCF are listening to every word we say here. They may steal our ideas about QR codes. There's other things that go on that, we've heard it here first, and all of a sudden you're seeing it being enacted there. So that's it. Having that interview, I think, was enough. And now people that listen to it and are going to go back into the record books and say, you know what, we need to look at this. Elton was a great player for us. He's a great representative of the school. He has all the qualifications. He graduated. He's done all that stuff. So I think soon you will be seeing Elton Patterson in the Hall of Fame.
And starting soon
in Bad Boys 4. When he does get in, I mean, he's got to thank us personally.
If we're not in that first line of the speech, go to the family first. I understand that. Maybe hit a teammate or two. We should be in that teammate section. You know what I mean? We should be right there after the family. I want to thank Asante Samuel, great teammate. And then my guys, Adam and Mike, Sons UC. I mean, we should be right in that tier, I would think.
We should be able to introduce them, I think, right? So, you do that?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if it's an NFL thing where there's a bust and we're up there talking. I don't even know.
I don't think it is. I think it's just they do a video with Mark Daniels going over the guy's career, and then all of a sudden he's up there.
Yeah, I feel like if Elton was like, hey, I want to have these guys. We stopped doing that. Sorry, this year. Just brand new. We stopped it. Yeah, sorry about all that. And you and I will just be in the back of the Celeste
We're definitely
Hotel.
getting mentioned.
Yeah, we got to get him mentioned. We at least get invited, right? Like at least invites us to the ceremony?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually.
All right.
A couple tickets.
Our expectations have lowered.
And the room at the Celeste, at least.
Okay. Well, we're 2 rooms. I don't want to hang out with you. We'll have to figure that out. But check out Elton Patterson again. Hall of Fame numbers. I was shocked to learn he wasn't in there, Mike. Cow of the Week this week. We're going to collaborate on Cow of the Week because this overtook the internets for a couple of days, and there's just so much about this that are funny. And so much about this that is stupid that it requires its own whole segment here, right? Nick Saban was doing some sort of a press situation, I don't even know, and decided that I don't even know the question, but basically said in as part of his answer that Texas A&M bought all of their players and that he at Alabama did not buy their players. Jimbo then holds his own press conference, Jimbo Fisher, and decides to basically blowtorch Nick Saban and say he's not what you think he is, and ask anybody what this guy's about, and if you think he's clean, I got all this stuff on there. And Nick came back basically and said, hey, I'm not going to say anything about that. Nick also threw a stray at Deion Sanders, who also came back and said that Nick Saban is basically a crazy person, Mike. So Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, we got beef, Mike. That's where we are. 2 60-year-old men arguing over who pays more for college kids.
Yeah, I think it all starts with Saban. He's probably cow number 1 in this situation. Calling out another school for buying their players when you're the coach at Alabama for the last 20 years. I mean, give me a break, Nick. I mean, we're not all idiots here. We know what's going on behind these doors before this was even legal. So you're definitely a cow for calling that out, and now you're getting what you deserve with all the backlash. Jimbo is funny, I think. He's not taking his phone calls. He wants nothing to do with them. Who wins in a fight, Jimbo or Nick Saban, you think?
Jimbo's younger, so.
Yeah. Hey, but Nick is feisty.
Scrappy. My first reaction when I saw that Jimbo press conference was he did something wrong because he went to that whole mode of it's almost like the Lance Armstrong defense. Like you come out so angry and so mad that I was like, oh, he did something wrong. Like he's clearly there's something. I wonder what he did. He must have done something really bad because he came all out like I did none of this thing, and my daddy would slap me in the face. And oh, by the way, Nick Saban's like he went from like I wouldn't do this to like look over here. Like he had all the signs of somebody who's done something wrong and was trying to get you not to notice it. That was my first reaction when I saw Jimbo out there that angry.
Rafael Palmeiro style?
Yes, absolutely. He wagged a finger. He went all Lance Armstrong, suing everybody. Like he did something. I don't know what it was, but he did something.
Yeah, this is when it's going to come back in a couple of weeks, and you find out the truth about Jimbo Fisher. He's going to have to resign and all that. And it's because he came out so strong against Saban. Saban's not going to sit on this. He's going to have his guys working behind the scenes, find out exactly how Texas A&M is cheating, and that's going to get exposed. And these two guys are just going to take each other down. And then once that happens, then Jimbo reveals all the secrets about Nick Saban. And,
is Jimbo Jose Canseco?
Yeah, somebody's going to be.
Okay.
And if it costs Jimbo his job or something like that comes out and it shows that he's cheating, he's going to come out and out everybody. And I'm here for it. It'll be hilarious. And hopefully nothing against Malzahn.
That's fair. Yeah, let's bring it down a notch. Bring it down a notch.
I like Gus is staying quiet on this.
No, he did not. He actually had a tweet out like later that day and said, "I was busy today. What did I miss?"
That's not actually him tweeting, though, right? That's just the guy who's in charge of the account.
I would doubt it. I don't know if Gus has like. He feels like he's the kind of guy who doesn't want to get involved in that sort of stuff. So I don't even really know. Like, but the argument which I find interesting, and maybe you can help me understand this. I think the legit argument was really a semantic argument in that what Nick was saying was Texas A&M was buying players, and Jimbo took offense because that would insinuate that Jimbo is personally authorizing them to be bought. But that's not really what's happening. Texas A&M has one of those collective deals where they offer deals to the players. Obviously, the coaches and the university can't be involved in that. So in theory, Jimbo and Nick are both right. The kids can get deals from the Texas A&M collective, and Jimbo cannot pay the kids. They can both technically be right. That's what makes me think Jimbo did something really wrong because he came out so angry as opposed to being like, let me just educate you guys on how this all works. Here's the question I don't understand, Mike. Maybe you can help me with this, right? So let's say I have my own collective, right? I have the Adam Collective, and you are the head football coach of UCF, right? And I decide that I'm going to give a collective deal to Trace Troco to come play for UCF. How do I know that you want Trace on your team? How does the collective know who to give the money to if there's no conversation there? How does that work? Is it just, hey, they offered this kid, let's pay him? Like, how does that all work? Someone has to explain that to me. I don't understand it.
They go to rivals.com and see who the highest ranked recruits are in every position. Yeah, I mean, come on, let's be honest. We all know exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
The coaches are communicating to these guys. These are the players we want. Now we can't give them the money directly. You go pay them, and they're in enough at the schools. So this is nothing new. It's now all out in the open, and I can't wait to see somebody get caught breaking the rules. And hopefully it's like Miami, because they're the ones that have been most open about it, paying people all this money. I want to see them get screwed and have to shut the program down.
Yeah, it'll be somebody. I mean, the NCAA obviously put those rules out, and they're going to try to find a way to enforce all this stuff and crack down on it. But, I mean, good luck with all that. But, yeah, this whole thing was just hysterical because both of them have done something wrong. Both of them know that one has done something wrong. But Jimbo, I'm here for Jimbo's dirt. If he wants to start spilling the tea, I'm here for it. I can't wait for that next presser when he pulls out like an Al Davis dossier of all the things Nick Saban's done wrong. I'm here for it. I'm all kinds of ready for that.
Yeah, there's going to be a book in a couple of years. Once one of these guys retires, and you're going to hear all the secrets come out.
Well, I mean, the secrets are basically they were paying people, right? Which is, again, it's really, the other thing is Nick said that he wishes there was parity back in college football. I mean, are you serious? Nick Saban is asking for parity in college football? I mean, literally, he's been like the only program in any sort of playoff conversation since the thing started, and now he wants parity.
Yeah. Some of these guys, I don't think they think before they say these things, or they're saying what they think people want to hear, and they don't realize how silly they sound when they say things like that.
Actually, honestly, I think Nick's whole goal was to talk to, basically that was his way of talking to the NILs of Alabama, to be like, y'all better give me some more money. Because Texas A&M's paying everybody. Deion's paying a kid $1 million. So that wasn't, I don't think that had anything to do with Jimbo or Deion. It had everything to do with, I need more money for the Alabama NIL people. So whoever's out there in Tuscaloosa, we know with the checkbooks, Nick's like, hey, you need to open that thing up a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably what he was doing. How much money is there in Tuscaloosa? I mean, I know there is no professional football team in Alabama. So everybody cares about the Crimson Tide. That's their team. But could they have more money, like corporate sponsor money, than a city like Orlando? Like, we should be dominating in these things. When it comes to this, big-time cities with a big pocketbook should be really cashing in. We need to start paying people, man. We need a big donor. We need somebody with a lot of money that wants to just pay people. What about that $50 million that we got from Bezos' wife? Can we just put that all towards the football program? buy a nice football team for a couple of years.
Yeah, sure. I don't know how that allocates, but I'm all in. Yeah, let's sign the checks. Let's get a stadium sponsor first.
Tell me about it. I mean, that should be a few million in our pockets right there. We can't get anybody lined up for that. So I don't know, man. That's what drives me nuts. How are people from Tuscaloosa, paying so much money? I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, car dealer. Who knows? I mean, that's who knows where this money. And you also assume that that's like Alabama schools like that. I mean, they have donors from people who never even went to Alabama, right? Just because they like the football team and they're from Alabama, and their kid went there. Like, I think that's the other element that is in the kind of at play here. Is it's these people probably don't all live in Tuscaloosa, but they have they have ties, quote unquote, to the program. I don't know. Like, they got people trying to kill trees for them. I mean, we're crying out loud. I guess they did kill trees. I don't even really know.
Yeah, but that guy, the tree killer guy, he's not a millionaire, right?
I think he's in jail. No, I think he's broken in jail now. I think Harvey Updike. I think his name is.
The majority of Alabama fans have, I don't know. They don't have a full set of teeth. You telling me they have a full bank account?
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you to have a full anything. Full tank of gas. I have no idea what they have, what it is, and how empty it is. I have no idea.
Yeah, so that money's coming from somewhere. I don't know where, but we need to figure it out.
Yeah, we
need to start paying our guys.
We need to get a Suns NIL deal worked out here soon, Mike. But what we do need to do is remind you all that on Thursday, live show this week, a lot of moving parts. We don't know when baseball is playing. We don't know what's going on with softball, all that stuff. So a lot of moving parts. Thursday, 8 p.m. We're still playing on the live show, so tune in for that. Again, if you want to follow us on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Sons of UCF, twonightsmedia.com. You can do that for us as well. It would be much appreciated. Until next week, Mike. I guess we'll wrap it up. Everybody have a fantastic week. We appreciate you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the interviews, and we'll talk to you soon. Everybody go Knights.
Charge on.